I should explain, everyone, that I'm just here waiting for other people. So some of you are going to get this video, and some of you might even watch this video, and you'll wonder why you're watching me just sitting here noodling around on my computer and nothing happening. And that is because it's 29 minutes past 7. No, it's just gone 7:30. And I'm waiting for people to arrive. And possibly, of course, as sometimes is the case, they may redundantly to myself. Hello, Rosemary. Welcome. Rosemary, there's a chat window. Let me just make sure. Enable the chat box. Oh, Rosemary, you are one step ahead. That's fantastic. I was just going to type into the chat box. Let me know if you can hear me, and you've typed already, although you haven't told me. Can you hear me, Rosemary? Can you hear me? And is it wet where you are? Because it's very wet where I am. Our house has sprung a leak. Okay. What I'm doing, Rosemary, if you can hear me, is Gemma sent me a question, and I had it. I think, to be honest, I remember. I just want to make sure I have the question. Ooh. Yeah. Okay. Well, according to my signal, let me type this because you can't hear me. I tell you what, Rosemary, if it ends up being just you and me, we can. We're only 2 minutes in there, so I can't call it yet. Oh, Gemma is sending me a LinkedIn request. Hello, Gemma. Okay, so I've just had a LinkedIn connection request from Gemma, but she's not here in our chat area. Okay, for anybody who's getting this by video and has watched for this long, I'm here in the webinar with Rosemary. But Rosemary can't hear anything, although there is sound going out. So unfortunately, that does mean the problem is at Rosemary's end. But Rosemary is now giving me a call. So we're going to do it that way. Stephen Lewis. What a surreal experience. How are you? Can you see me talking to you now? Yeah. Yeah, this is really weird. So look, I figure what we might as well do is, it's only you and me. So only 2 of you signed up to attend today's webinar. And Gemma has just sent me a connection request on LinkedIn, like literally while I was chatting to you. But she hasn't entered the webinar room, which is a bit odd. So I don't know if she's having trouble. So I figured I might as well answer your questions on the phone, because I can't obviously conference in a lot of people on the phone, but as it's just you and me. Questions? Okay. I've got a headphone in, and it's funny. I'm turning and showing you the headphone, and in about 10 seconds, you'll turn around and see the headphone, and you'll also see me nodding inappropriately, because I'm nodding while you talk, and in a moment you'll tell me something totally inappropriate, and I'll be there nodding very seriously, because there's a lag. Okay. Very good. Oh yeah, that's great. She went to my school. Not that we knew each other, but we would have been there at around about the same time. Yeah, yeah. She's done that. I'm based in Sydney, so I'm suffering through the rain. What about you? Uh, right, okay. I'm not anywhere near the flooding actually, but we've sprung a leak in our house. So if I was to tilt the camera around a little bit, you'd see water dripping into a bucket like this was a cartoon. Now, I'm just going to say hi to Gemma, because Gemma has just arrived. So I'm going to see if she can hear me. So I'm going to type that, but also if she can hear me, she's probably just heard me say it. Okay. And Gemma did have a question, so there would be a question to answer. So yeah, it's been pretty bad up here. It's pretty, it's pretty wet and wild outside. I'm lucky because I'm commute, which makes life a lot easier. Well, what I'm thinking is if oh, hello. All right, excellent. Nice talking to you. We'll go back to a lag. You'll probably hear me saying nice talking to you in a minute. All right, cheers. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's a type only basis. All right, fantastic. Okay, nice talking to you. Cheers. Bye. Okay, Gemma, can you hear? Can you hear? In fact, are you still here? Yes. Okay. So look, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Rosemary, I hope you can still hear me. So if anybody has managed to stay with us so far, Rosemary couldn't hear anything. And because it was only, Rosemary can hear now. So because it was only me and Rosemary just called me on the phone, which is why you saw me wearing the earpiece. But now Rosemary can hear and Gemma is in the room, according to the system. But I don't know if Gemma can hear me. But Gemma did email me a question, which is the only question I've received. So if that's the only question you have, we should be through this reasonably quickly. Gemma has said, where is it? Of course, I've now lost it. But it's basically the news feed is, oh, hey, Gemma, hey. All right, Gemma, so you can hear, but your connection is slow. Well, you will get a video of this afterwards. So, Gemma, I'm going to answer your question, which is about managing the news feed. And I'm going to show you what I do, which is, of course, just one answer. So bear with me, actually. I'll do it this way. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen with you. Which is the screen. Okay. So, guys, this is Hootsuite, which is free and also has a paid version. But you can see that the key difference between the Hootsuite layout and Twitter itself is that I have these columns. So each column is assigned to a certain class of tweet. So Rule 17, which, as you guys know, is my personal Twitter handle. This is everybody I follow and everything that they tweet. This mentions column here is where people have mentioned me. You know, they've used my username, my handle. So that's that. Then I have, as you guys, again, as you know, I have various lists. So there are, these are people whom I consider to be influential to me. And what I did was I added those to a list in Twitter. So from the course, you know how to create a list in Twitter. And then if you use Hootsuite, which is a bit more advanced than we do in the ASA course, you can set up Hootsuite, and it's not that complicated if you mess around in it for a little while. And you can add columns. So here, these are my clients, for instance, so I can see what my clients have been tweeting, and so on and so on and so forth. So that's how I manage the chaos of Twitter, because Gemma is absolutely right that if you start following a number of people, if you start following 1,000 people and some of them are extremely keen Twitter users, then your feed can just be this, constantly moving avalanche, like a ticker tape of stuff. And the way that you can slow it down a little bit is by saying, you know what, these people are really important to me, possibly for this reason, like they're my close friends. These people are my colleagues and, they're important to me, but, for different reasons. So also in Hootsuite, so one way to set up a column is to attach it to a list. So as you've seen, I have a list of people that I call influential, and I have a list of people that I call amplifiers. And I think in the course, I talked to you about my blue team and my red team. Those are lists. So I can have one column for each list. So that narrows things down. Another way to narrow it down is if you is if you have a hashtag that you want to follow, for instance, am publishing, for instance, hashtag am publishing, or there's something else in your work that means that you want to follow that hashtag. Again, you can set up a search. So, I mean, I think I've got a really good example of quite a complicated. I've got a client called Seeing Machines. And this might be a good. Yeah, so here's an example. Seeing Machines is interested in the trucking market. So we set up a search for a particular hashtag called Trucker Tuesday, and various other things that we wanted them to be able to follow. So you can set up a. Don't have a really good example in here, I'm afraid. I did at one point have a really complicated search set up in here, but you can start a new column for a search. So if we go here and say, okay, for my Twitter account, I want to do a search. So I want to search for tweets that mention Sydney and, I don't know, swans, Sydney swans, or rain. And I click search. I've now got a column that is searching for Sydney swans or rain. So if Gemma, for instance, had a particular group of things that she particularly wanted to follow, she can set up a column search. So I live in a suburb in Sydney called Rozelle, for instance. So I might want to search all tweets that were sent near Rozelle or about Rozelle, for instance, because that's my neighborhood. So then you can set up a column for those things. And the particular advantage in relation to what Gemma is saying is, sort of how do you deal with the endless stream of information? You might be in a mood for different types of information. Could you just see my screen then, Rosemary? I'm just wondering, because I end up, I see a slightly different view of this than you guys. So you might, during your working day, for instance, be interested in a particular series of tweets or search terms or hashtags or lists or whatever, and then in your private time be interested in something totally different. Let's imagine during the working day you work for Amnesty International, and therefore you're searching all kinds of political hashtags and search terms and names of political prisoners and so on. But in the evening you want to unwind. You might want to be following all the MasterChef news or the block news or whatever it is you want to do. So again, could you set up a hashtag story? Yeah, if you could set up a hashtag story, definitely. If you mean that at sort of 140 characters at a time, you could attach a hashtag to the end of it. Absolutely. The question, I suppose, would be what the demographic of Twitter is from that point of view, for whether enough children are potentially following Twitter to want to follow a story that way. So I know some authors have done excuse me, stories on Twitter by hashtag, but the ones that I've heard about have been more well, not more, they have been adult authors. So I've just heard from Gemma that her connection is appalling, and she said go on without her. The weather here in Sydney, Rosemary, is appalling, and it is affecting everybody's internet connection, but at least you'll both get this video afterwards. So, well, look, I'm glad you could see the screen. So, that, do you have I guess, Rosemary, my question for you is, do you have another, or we do have the second webinar. There are only 4 of you taking the class at the moment, so that means there's only a maximum of 4 of you to attend the second webinar. So I know, Rosemary, you haven't done much of the course so far, so you might find you have more questions at the next one. So, excuse me, I'm so sorry. You got up early because of the leak in my house. Is there another question that you have, Rosemary? Okay, so yes, Gemma has left the building. All right, look, in the absence of any more questions, I'm going to wind this up now. I hope to see everybody at the next webinar, and also under better internet connections circumstances for you, Gemma. Oh, what I meant was, could I set up hashtag stories and then talk about learning through stories? I'd be pretty surprised if somebody didn't already, people weren't already using the hashtag stories. I think the difficulty you've got there, just let me stop. Okay, so yeah, look, that's cool, Rosemary. I just want to show you this, which is a search for the hashtag stories. So you'll see there's one here at 7:51 today, one at 7:48, one at 7:46, and then 3:35. So people are already using the hashtag stories, but that doesn't make what you're suggesting fatal. It just means you'd need a different, if you wanted to have a hashtag conversation that you were controlling, then you just need an original hashtag that you could then gather people around. So, okay, Rosemary, on that basis, we will finish up. It was very nice talking to you on the phone as well. You will get a link to this video, obviously. And then I will see you guys at the next webinar, whenever that is, Tuesday in about a couple of weeks' time. So I look forward to talking to you there, and I hope we're all managing to stay as dry as possible. All right, nice talking to you.